Hey everybody, it's Lou from Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek. This week's episode is called, well, Sporky, and we're going to be looking at everything geek-related, including the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon from the 80s. It is absolutely...
Hey Dad, you want to be a cleric?
In a world filled with intergalactic space battles, metahuman destruction on a global scale, and psychopathic serial hauntings, there's only one team who can make sense of it all. When your world is overrun with rampant pop culture, call Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
It exploded again.
I felt like I was far enough from it this time that it didn't affect me.
I know. Since I put up that barricade around us, I feel like we're more safe than we've ever been.
But you never know. You never know what's going to happen in the opener.
You never know.
So how's their things going?
Pretty good. Oh, by the way, I'm Larry.
Well, I'm Lou.
What?
Sometimes I forget we're doing a podcast.
I know. We're just like, hanging out right now.
I know. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot we're doing a podcast.
We should probably open this podcast.
Okay, here we go. I'm opening it up. It's like a box of goodness. Okay. Okay. Hey, everybody.
Explosion, everybody.
Hey, I'm Lou.
And I'm Larry.
There we go. We got it now. I don't know what's happening half the time. All right.
Awesome.
So what's been going on with you?
Oh, so much stuff has been happening. You know what I did this past week?
Other than waste space, go on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, ouch.
All right.
I saw Us. Jordan Peele's Us.
Oh, the movie
the
Us.
movie
I thought you saw Us together or something.
No. I do that all the time.
Sort
That's
of an
just
out-of-body experience.
Yeah, I saw Us. No, I saw Us. The movie Us.
The movie Us.
Yeah. I saw it. And there have been some mixed reviews about this movie.
Okay, I haven't read any reviews of it. I've obviously seen the trailer. I knew it was coming out.
Yep.
According to the promo I see all the time on TV, it says it's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes, well, that probably was the case at one point. It is
one review in 100%.
I think now it's resting at about 94, so it's pretty close. It's pretty close to 100%.
All right.
I was so excited to go and see this movie because I am a huge fan of Get Out.
Yeah.
I really like
it. Was
Jordan.
fantastic.
It was fantastic. Really, really good. I'm a big fan of Jordan Peele. I think he's the next sort of horror protege. Prodigy. That's the word. Yeah, I think he's really going to be one to watch. So I was so excited to go see this thing. My expectations were really, really high.
Yeah.
And then they sort of dropped.
So, what, without giving it away in the movie, what was it kind of generally that disappointed you?
Well, the premise of the movie is really good. It's a very cool premise, and I think it's not giving anything away if you've seen any of the commercials or trailers that there's doppelgangers that come in and take over a person, Lupita Nyong'o's house.
Yeah,
and they are murderous, and they're trying to kill the family.
Originals.
The originals.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so it's really intriguing. Why are there doppelgangers? Why and what's going on? And I really don't want to spoil anything because it's still pretty early, and I know you haven't seen it yet. So
yes.
I don't want to give anything away. The issue is the story. The concept's really good. The execution has a lot to be desired.
Really? Okay.
A lot of plot holes.
Because the trailer is fantastic.
The trailer was amazing. It was one of the best trailers that I think I've seen this year. It was so good. But it's another one of those situations where the trailer's amazing, and then you go in and you're all pumped up, and that's why they pay trailer producers so much money.
Yeah.
Draw you in there.
Movies should only be 2 minutes max.
That should be it. We should just be excited for the trailer, and then it's done, and we're happy. We saw something good.
We should do a game where we watch a trailer and not having seen the movie, try to predict what happens in the movie.
Ooh, that's
just based on the trailer alone.
Yes. I think that's...
And see how close the person is.
Yeah, I think that's good. And whether the movie's going to be good or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's So I know people. I've been really trying to like this movie since I went to see it.
Yeah.
I've been watching videos about theories about what it meant and endings explained and those sorts of things. And I think that people are they're grasping too hard to find something in this movie.
Yeah.
It's the acting is phenomenal. It's not uninteresting. So it'll keep your attention for the whole thing. I just came out feeling like I think that he got really muddled in the whole procedure.
Okay, yeah, because when I asked you, you said it wasn't. You didn't think it was scary.
No, and that was the other thing. I was going in expecting to come out like fully petrified.
Yes.
And I literally did not find anything about this movie scary. And maybe
did you cross your arms at one point and go,
did.
entertain me?
I did. I actually at one point did, and I had that growling face. You're not scaring me. But I don't know. Maybe it's because I've seen a lot of horror. I'm not sure. But you can see all of the jumps coming before they happen.
All right.
That sort of thing. And there was a lot of what we like to call horror brain happening, where characters in horror movies make the stupidest decisions just because they're in horror movies.
Like where they go back into a house.
Yeah. And then they go down to the basement.
Like they're totally in the clear, but they have to go back in the house for some reason.
That's exactly. There's a lot of that.
Oh, good. All right.
Which makes you go, no, not again. Please.
I'll check it out for sure, and then
Yes.
I'll tell you what my review of it is in the next podcast.
Yes, yeah. So that sort of led me into thinking a little bit about critics.
Yes.
Because this movie got a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. But then if you kind of go in and you look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores, it actually only got a 69% viewer score.
Right.
So I thought, well, this is a pretty big discrepancy. And then I was sort of looking at a bunch of other movies that have come out recently, like Alita, Battle Angel, and Captain Marvel, and so movies like that, and just comparing what the critics are scoring to what the viewer, the general public scores are.
Yeah.
And I've noticed some really big gaps
Right.
in what the actual average Joe thinks of a movie compared to what critics are now thinking of movies. For example, Alita, Battle Angel,
Yep.
the critics gave it 60%.
Right.
The viewers gave it 94%.
Wow.
Yep.
That's big.
Captain Marvel was a little closer, 78% from critics, 62% from the general public.
Which is weird because the critics loved it at first, but remember people were trying to give
Bring
it
it
bad
down.
reviews. But I
That's
think
right.
they've wiped a lot of those reviews out now.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Then there was a movie called 5 Feet Apart. It was sort of a romantic drama about two individuals with some sort of a
What? Oh, sorry. I was just fell asleep when you were talking about that.
Exactly. So you may have missed this one. However,
Was there any aliens in it?
not one.
Okay.
No.
Probably not seen it.
No, you're not going to see this. I guarantee you, because the critics gave it 52%. However, those people who did see it gave it 81%.
Very bizarre.
Very bizarre. The biggest one that I noticed was a movie called Gloria Bell. You might want to start snoring now. Called Gloria Bell. It stars Julianne Moore and John Turturro. I really don't know very much
I
about
know.
this.
I know. I've seen the trailer for that movie. I
Okay,
know
so
which
the
one that
trailer,
is.
yep. Don't know much about it. The critics gave it 94%. The viewers gave it 46%. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, that's weird.
So
eh?
it makes me wonder, what are critics doing these days? Like,
I don't-
do they have an agenda that we don't know about?
Yeah, are they getting paid under the table to give good reviews?
Are they trying to boost studios?
I wonder
very
if
odd.
the cool factor of certain people like Jordan Peele has a sort of a cool factor to him.
Yeah.
If that sort of changes the review based on that, because you don't want to be the person like you were like, I really want to like this movie.
Yes.
So I don't know if that has something to do with that. But I remember when Bohemian Rhapsody came out, the critics panned it and the people loved it.
Yes.
So
and then it went on to win the Best Picture at Golden Globes.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, it's so weird. But do you think they should be using Rotten Tomatoes scores in trailers like they did in Us?
Well, I would think it probably helps them because most of the critics' scores are so high.
Right.
So, with us, they say it's 100% or it's 94%. So it looks like, well, this is going to be a fantastic movie. It'll draw people in there. So I think it makes sense for the studios to use it.
Yeah.
But it's deceiving because they might not be the most accurate reviews. And I don't know whether this would be interesting to look into, actually, whether studios sort of commission or critics are commissioned or paid when their reviews are used in trailers.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like Newsweek says blah, blah,
Right.
blah. And if that's the case, does that mean they want to give it a higher score so that they get chosen to be put in the?
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
like getting a basket of stuff,
Yes.
right? Like it's like, oh, I guess I have to kind of say something nice about it now.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Remember those commercials that they got in trouble for at the studios? Those ones where you have real people coming out of the theaters,
Yes.
and they'd give oh, this is the greatest movie of all time. Then they found out they're all actors.
Yes.
They were like,
Exactly.
real people are saying like,
Yeah. Well, I feel like the
why
critics.
is one of them Brad Pitt?
Yeah. I think the critics are now those people. So
Yeah.
they're actors too.
It's just weird. I find too with putting a Rotten Tomato score into a trailer is that there's still reviews coming in, so it's kind of a rolling review, like a rolling number, because it could be 85 today and then like 78 tomorrow, right? So it can't be perfectly accurate every time they put it up because it's a percentage. Like, it just depends.
So unless they change their commercial every time
Well, I bet you somewhere in small print it says like based on this particular date or whatever. So I don't know.
They'd have to put in a disclaimer. But it's just I'm just finding this really interesting. So it's making me wonder whether I should be getting reviews from someplace else, and maybe not so much the actual critics. Maybe I should, be going
like Loop and Larry.
That's right.
This is where you should get the reviews.
To the Loop and Larry reviews, because we tell it like it is.
On your tomato meter, what would you give us out of 100?
I would say probably about out of 100. I would say maybe 58.
58.
Yeah.
You know what? That is news to me.
We have a minute and a half. It's my responsibility to tell the control room and New York that we won't be ready. We'll be ready. In 84 seconds. 15 seconds.
And now the news with Loop and Larry.
See how proud I was that I did that? That was a great transition.
I did not even see that coming. It just totally
right to the news. Right to the news.
That was awesome.
Okay, well, let's go to the news.
Oh, hey, now we're in the news. Let's talk about some news. What do we got? Let's start with TV. How about that?
I love to watch the old boob tube.
Don't say that anymore.
I don't think anyone ever says that anymore.
No, nobody should say that anymore. Okay, so TV news. Starting off, because I think this is now our 8th episode.
Yeah.
I am quite certain, if you go back, we have mentioned this show every single episode up until this time.
And we're
going to do it again.
All right.
Stranger Things.
What is this show called? Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. Stranger Things Season 3 has a trailer, which just, like, I'm now I have my hopes up like I did with Us, because that trailer, the trailer for this new season looks phenomenal to me.
It looks great. They've really like tapped into the whole 80s feel on it. And this one's sort of like a Fast Times at Ridgemont High sort of feel, or like a Weird Science kind of feel, kind of, because it has all the malls and all that kind of stuff in it. And it's like, but with the horror really takes a back seat in that trailer.
It does, absolutely. But it was the whole mall scene. As soon as I saw an 80s mall and Eleven looking around the mall, like, because obviously she's never been in one before, I thought this is going to be the greatest season of television that's ever been. But then they did introduce the new form of the Demogorgon at the end, which looks like horrifying.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, super
Did I see Jake Busey running through a hallway?
Really?
I couldn't remember if he was dead or not from the last season. Because he was in one of the seasons for sure, or two of them. But I saw a picture. I think there was like one really super fast shot of him like running down a hall.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Okay, I'll have to
rewatch that.
I'm gonna rewatch that.
I just have to notice him because he's very distinguishable to me. Like,
he is, absolutely. So that's very exciting.
It looks cool. The one thing in it that made me laugh was that the problem when you have a TV show with children in it is that they grow up.
Yes.
Right? So suddenly one of them, I don't know if it's Mike or one of the other kid that was a friend that got possessed in the first one or got put in the...
Will.
Will.
Yeah.
One of them looks like 3 times older than all the other kids. Like, he looks super tall.
Yes.
Like he sprouted a lot. Like,
well, because there's a scene with all of the boys standing with their backs to a wall and the camera pans across them. And if the camera didn't like position itself properly, it totally would have cut the head off this one kid, because they were all the same height.
It's really quick, and I couldn't tell which one it was, but one scene in particular, you could really see the height difference.
Yes.
And it was like, whoa. And it was even hard to recognize him, because I was like, that's why I'm having trouble remembering which character it was, because he's changed so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I don't know what the time jump has been since last season.
Yeah.
Like, this one actually takes place, it premieres on July 4th on TV, and it actually takes place on July 4th, because they mentioned that in the trailer. They say, Happy July 4th. So, but the other ones have all happened over Halloween or over in October.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's supposed to be the following year. I don't know how much time is actually.
And it's weird, too. I don't know if you remember back to, there was another trailer where it was kind of like a TV and it kept going on and up.
Yes.
You see binary and stuff.
Yeah.
That one had some New Year's stuff in it. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what the timeline on this one's going to be, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
So.
I'm really excited about this. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool.
Glad we don't have to wait till October for this one.
Yes.
Castle Rock.
Yes.
Which is a show that neither of us have actually seen. However, it's intrigued us both, and it's on both of our lists to watch
someday.
So now it's got a season 2. Season 2 has been greenlit, and what's really cool about this season, so Castle Rock, if you haven't seen it, is takes place in the Stephen King universe, essentially. So if you're a big Stephen King fan, apparently there are references galore to all of his books and the movies and all kinds of things that happen in this town called Castle Rock.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Stephen King fan. I know, Loop, you are too. So
Yeah.
I don't know why we haven't watched this thing yet.
I don't know why.
But anyway, season 2 is intriguing because it's based on Misery, and it takes it's focuses on a young Annie Wilkes, who's played by Lizzie Kaplan.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yeah, so it's going to have that whole sort of Misery vibe to it, and see what kind of hobbling young Annie Wilkes used to do in her youth.
Have you ever watched a show based on the fact that it got picked up for another season? Like
Yes.
there's been shows I'm like, I don't want to watch this, and then I see that it's picked up for a second season. I'm like, okay, now suddenly I'm interested in it. I wasn't before, but now I am, because now I know at least I have another season to watch.
Well, I think it's because you and I have both been burned too many times.
Like starting a show and then it gets canceled.
And then we get really good at it. I'd like to bring up Almost Human.
That is like your favorite show. It was all right.
I loved this show. This was a J.J. Abrams show that starred what was his name?
It was the guy. It wasn't the guy from Star Trek.
Yes.
Like the guy that plays Bones.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Anyway, and it was futuristic, and it was cops, and it was I loved this show. I actually saw it premiere at Fan Expo. I was so stoked, and it was really high quality, and it didn't even last a season, and I was so devastated. And so I've since then decided, nope, I'm not gonna be burned again.
I know why this reminds me of this, but there's a second season out on Netflix that just started. Is the OA or the
Yes.
Yeah, is that what it's called?
Yep.
Yeah, I saw the first season. I didn't even know the second season was out.
Yep. Oh, it's out.
I knew they were making one, or I thought they were, but I haven't have you watched it at all?
No.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of it. Someone told me it was on the other day, and I'm like, oh, okay.
There it is. This is the
They
problem
need to advertise a little more on that.
And this is the problem with streaming shows, like shows that launch all at once, is that they unless you're watching that streaming service or have access to that, they can just be there without you even realizing it.
Yeah.
Like the hype isn't the same as it used to be when we were watching on broadcast TV, and every commercial break would have a promo for whatever show is coming up. These ones, they don't have that anymore, so you have to be on the ball.
You gotta be ready.
You gotta be ready.
Well, speaking of Stephen King,
yes,
Dark Tower
yes
has been announced by Amazon,
streaming service.
Yeah, which is supposed to be. There's apparently the series. They got their 2 leads right now, and Sam Strike is one of them. He's playing Roland, who's like the gunslinger.
Sam Strike.
He's from EastEnders.
Okay.
So it's like kind of almost unknown.
Yeah.
And then Jasper Pacoin, I don't even know how I'm pronouncing this right. He's got a lot of umlauts in the name. He's from Black Klansman. You saw Black Klansman.
Oh, yeah.
I think he was the really racist guy that never trusted.
Oh.
I think it was that guy.
Really?
I think he's the man in black in this.
Okay.
I have no idea how to pronounce that name.
Nope.
By the end of this year, I'm going to know how to pronounce it. But anyway, so they're supposed to be doing it, and it's going to be closer to the original source material.
That's good.
Now, I have a problem with the movie because the movie had nothing to do. I know what they said they were trying to do, but it was awful.
It did not work.
And I think the thing is, when you have a bunch of books and you're making an adaptation of it, keep it close to the books, because I'm watching it because I want to see what you've done with it based on the books I've read.
Right.
Not taking it so far out of left field that has nothing to do with why I tuned in the first place.
That's right.
It's like slapping a name on anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
No, you're absolutely right. I feel like, and by giving it a TV series, I think they can give it the time it needs.
Yeah.
Because the movie had like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I think the movie was supposed to be like part 1 of a series of them, but it tanked. So that put an end to that really quick, and it just didn't give it enough time. But I think a TV series will be able to dive into all the details, so that's pretty exciting. I've never read the books. I know you've read most of them.
I'm so awful. I've read the first 4. And I've been reading 5 for, I swear to God, like 8 years. And that's the only book I've been reading. I get partway, and sometimes I've even restarted it and tried to get into it. And I get a little further than the last time. And I don't know why, because I'm enjoying it, but I have no, and maybe it's the sign of the times. I cannot with phones and everything. I just cannot. I can't even finish a sentence.
You see something shiny, and then you.
I'm not even finishing. What are we talking about?
Exactly.
But you know what I mean? Like I can't concentrate on a book. I'm checking my phone, or that's why I like to read comics because it's very quick. You finish it, it's done.
Exactly,
like,
and it has pictures.
Pictures are good.
Pictures are important.
But yeah, I will finish this series.
Yeah.
And someday.
Well, now that this series is coming up on TV, you have a reason to finish the series.
Yeah, I do.
You got to finish the
That's what happened with Lord of the Rings. I couldn't even get through it, but when I saw they were making it, I actually powered my way through all of them and quite enjoyed it.
There you go. There's hope for you yet.
Except for the first book.
Exactly, that won't happen. What else do we have? Oh, this is another one for you, Loop. We got a little WrestleMania news.
Oh yeah, they announced the first women's main event at WrestleMania.
First ever.
Yeah, they've never had a main event with women in it. It was it's fantastic. It's about time, the women's evolution and revolution. But it's very, very cool. It's a good step forward for WWE. Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair, and then versus Becky Lynch. Ooh. And the weird twist on it is, so the title's up. Ronda Rousey has the title. Yep. The weird twist is that Charlotte Flair won the SmackDown title just the other day out of nowhere, 2 weeks before WrestleMania. It makes no sense. What? And everyone is like losing it because they're like, why is this happening? So I don't know what's going to happen. There's a few theories out there if you're a wrestling fan, but I don't know.
So this will literally be a battle royale.
I don't know. Like, are they going to unify the two titles? I don't know what they're doing. It's very interesting.
There's going to be a merge.
It could
They're going to drop their buffs. They're going to come to the middle.
I don't know what's going on. It's so weird. I've never seen that happen before, so I don't know what they're doing, but it's going to be awesome.
That's cool.
Last year's WrestleMania, I swear to God, was like 8 hours.
Really? Like legitimately?
Like the pre-show starts around 4, and there's matches during the pre-show. So like when you would be coming into the stadium, they'd have some matches to kind of entertain you or whatever. Yeah. And so it goes on, and then when it starts at like 7, it went to like past midnight.
Wow.
Like it's a long pay. Like it's exhausting.
Well, if you're paying like a pay-per-view event, you want to get your money's worth.
Or if you have the WWE Network, you only pay like $9.99 a month.
There
or
you
whatever.
go, and you just get it as a package.
Boom! You get every pay-per-view.
Exactly. That's awesome. Well, it certainly is a sign of the times.
It is. It is.
Good sign. Good sign. So let's move on to movie news.
Ooh.
Should we do that?
I love movie news.
All right. Me too. I really like the movies. So
the picture show.
The picture show. Mostly because it's got pictures.
There you go.
We established that anything with pictures is interesting to us. Too many words, no good.
Yep.
What Toxic Avenger is getting a reboot.
I love Troma.
Who doesn't love a good Troma movie?
Like Lloyd Kaufman. I've met him once. I was actually one of the few celebrities I was actually really nervous to meet.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I remember that.
Yeah, I don't know why, but he's just like, I grew up on a lot of Troma movies. I watched a lot of them. They're all like, none of them are really good, but they're good in a bad horror sort of way.
Yes,
right?
and I think the fun thing about Troma movies is that they're made to be over the top. Like I don't think he's ever tried to make a really like solid, serious horror movie.
Yeah,
he's like, they're like Poultrygeist. Like they got like the most ridiculous names.
Class of Nukem High, all those. Like they're just dumb. Like they're kind of dirty, kind of dumb. Like they're just like, I don't know what it is. Raw,
super low budget.
Yeah,
lots of practical effects, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like just classic kind of horror movies. But Toxic Avenger is like arguably their biggest
character. For sure.
And how many movies they had? And then Return of Toxie, and then they had
it goes on forever.
Toxie goes to the moon.
That's why I'm like, when I laugh when I see a Toxic Avenger reboot, because like literally they've made like probably 10 of them.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
So why don't they just make 11?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird.
The interesting thing is going to be whether they actually put budget into this one.
Yeah.
Like if they're going to reboot it, if they're like, I wonder if like a real studio is going to pitch in and they're going to make it
I don't know.
something.
It's weird because it loses some of the fun when it's like when you get too high budgety. But it'd be cool to see it and have like actual like real stars like just do cameos and stuff in it. Like it would be fun.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I have no idea what to expect, but it is coming.
It'll probably become direct to video. I can guarantee.
Most of those movies do.
If it becomes a theater, that'd be pretty amazing.
Yeah, we'll go.
Yeah,
we'll be there, and then we'll give you our honest review. Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
Who is a perennial favorite of the Loop and Larry
love
podcast. Love the Tarantino. Coming out with film number 9.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And the trailer has just recently dropped.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be more excited. Anytime there's a Tarantino anything, I'm I'm in.
Yeah,
100%.
The funny, I'd like to see another trailer because I think this one is more like introducing the star. It's almost like it's like here's the stars of this movie.
Yeah.
Here's the time period it's set in, which I think is 69.
Yep.
And because there's really I can't tell in this movie what plot it would be or anything. It just seems like more like a Pulp Fiction-y type.
It does. It feels to me like he's gone back to the revenge movie, like the classic Quentin Tarantino. It's the premise of the movie apparently is about the Charles Manson murders. Like it takes place.
Yeah, and I thought that, but then I'm like, what's going on?
And so I was looking a little bit into it, and all of the people on screen, like all of the Brad Pitts and the Leonardo DiCaprios, are playing real people.
Yeah.
So if you look up who
so they're not characters then?
No, they're actually real people.
Okay.
So it sort of takes place in Hollywood in the 60s. It's sort of the golden age of Hollywood, but then it's all murdery.
Yeah.
But it looks and feels to me like Pulp Fiction. Like it looks like he's going back to his roots.
Yeah.
And after kind of doing some Western, I mean, most of his movies are sort of Western based anyway, but like a true Western. And
he really enjoys doing movies that are like sort of set in a time period.
Yes.
As opposed to now.
Yeah.
The problem with anything now, and I don't know if it would just sort of like ruin what he does, but it's too easy to use a phone now for everything.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? There's like the phone is like kind of as great as it is to have a phone.
Yeah.
It's kind of for movie wise, it's an easy thing to like instead of going to see you at your place of business in the movie, I could just call you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so you're like, why wouldn't you use a phone there? Like so that's why it's kind of cool that he goes back and
exactly.
So,
like everything has to be done face to face. People have to drive places.
Yeah, like it's kind of cool. But
it is. It's very retro. But he's once again used amazing soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like that's like a cornerstone of all of his movies is to find music that's so cool.
Yeah.
And that's what he's done with this one too. It really has that.
And this is supposed to be he said he's going to retire after his 10th. Yeah.
So
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and he's still holding to that.
The only thing with Tarantino I find sometimes like as great as he is, he sometimes needs an editor. Like some of his movies are a little like I guess self-indulgent. Like there's a lot of the dialogue. I always enjoy the dialogue in his movies, but some of them are just a little long.
It could go, what was the
Hateful Eight?
Hateful Eight. Yeah, that was a super long. I mean, that was like almost 3 hours long. I think.
And I don't think it needed to be that long.
Yeah, it could have been trimmed down a little bit. So I don't know what he's doing with this,
but still enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I'll be there opening night. You guarantee that. What else? We had Toy Story 4.
Yes.
Toy Story 4 This was like a week of trailers.
I know a lot came out in the last couple of weeks for sure.
We're approaching the blockbuster movie season, so I think we're going to be seeing trailers like
weekly.
Daily,
for sure.
Yeah. So Toy Story 4. I kind of figured Toy Story 3 was the end of this.
Yeah.
I kind of thought, and it would have been a great ending. I cried. I was happy. But nope, they're back. But the thing that I find really interesting about this is that Disney has sort of become like the new generation of the Pixar movies has a way more photorealistic look than they have in the past.
Yeah.
They started with Cars 3? Cars 4? What is it? The last Cars movie was way more photorealistic. And this one is too. There's the backgrounds all look real.
Yeah.
So it sets it apart from the other Toy Stories. Plus, this one has a new character called Forky.
Oh my God. I wanted to punch that screen when I saw it. You knew I was going to be annoyed with that. I'm like, that is so annoying. You know my thing on the Disney Pixar movies. I don't know what it is about them. I find them irritating.
Yes.
I find they're forcing you to think they're like that parents and kids can all love them, and it bugs me because of that. Like either be for one or the other.
You know why I figured out why?
Why?
Because you have no soul.
It is true. And also I have never seen Toy Story 1 or 2. I saw 3 in the theater.
How does that work?
Because my kids wanted to go see it, and I didn't go see the first 2 with them.
Right.
So and then I'm like, okay, and I'm like, I didn't know what was going on, but it was like the.
So you're just irritated.
But it's like I saw the trailer, and as soon as they put
Forky.
that like Sporky or whatever his name.
Is it Sporky?
I don't know if it's Sporky or Forky. I think it's Sporky.
Okay, it could be Sporky.
Or is it Forky?
Well, I think he's Forky, but I think he's actually
a
Spork.
Yeah, I don't know. It just is, I'm just like, this is dumb, guys. Come on, you can do better than that.
No, I don't think they can.
I don't know. I'm like,
regardless, you're going to go see it with me.
I will not go. I cannot sit through that.
We're going through this
any
together.
day of the week. All right, moving on.
Moving on. Oh, okay. Speaking of sequels, Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted, who I thought we would never ever see again.
Yeah.
and really probably would have been okay with that. I have a new sequel coming out called Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I mean, I don't know anything about it, but it's like Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter did an announcement on because the rumors were out there they're going to do it.
Yes.
But they did an actual official announcement on online that they are going to be doing this movie. So it'll be interesting to see where they take it and where it goes.
Well, and William Sadler, who played Death in Bogus Journey, is coming back to play Death again.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
I really have to go back and rewatch these. I haven't watched them in years. Like,
no, I haven't seen Bogus Journey. I can't even tell you the last time. I saw Excellent Adventure not long ago.
Yeah.
But Bogus Journey, I remember it being so like out there that it was really out there.
I feel like all Keanu Reeves movies have to be trilogies.
Yes.
You ever notice? He does a lot of trilogies.
Yeah, he does. Well, you got John Wick 3.
Yeah,
so
coming out. Yeah,
it's the
he's
season
got the Matrix. And
it's the season of Keanu Reeves. What else? Oh, one of the big stories. We're pretty excited about this, that James Gunn has officially been welcomed back into the Disney fold and will be directing Guardians 3.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think it's really cool. I think honestly that Disney went too far with the firing based on tweets that came out 10 years ago that he's since apologized for, and he had the support of all of the cast, and it didn't make any sense to me.
This is my thing on it.
Yeah, okay.
Is that like, I don't use Twitter in that sort of way where you're saying like outrageous things, but James Gunn back 10 years ago is not the same James Gunn. He was directing some things for Troma back 10 years ago.
Yes.
So he was a totally different person back then.
Yep.
He was like, and a lot of times you say things like you might think are funny, or you say things kind of controversial to get like retweets or whatever he's doing. But it's like you can't judge a person based on like everything, and plus, it's a much more PC world now than it was back then. Like you could have got away with it because no one called him on it back then.
Nope.
But of course, they do now. I don't know who are these people that are digging these tweets up.
They're reporters who have nothing else to do.
Well, how do you find them? Like I can't even. I tried to go back and find like a picture I posted on Twitter like 6 months ago, and it takes like about 4 hours. Like, and then all of a sudden it just like stops and it says no more tweets or whatever. I don't know how you can get back that far.
And what made him think, hey, let's investigate James Gunn and see if he was nasty at all in his youth? Why? Why would they do that?
I don't know. I don't know. It was like
it didn't make any sense. And the problem is that the Guardians movies that he's produced or that he's directed have been so phenomenal and have brought so much like happiness to people.
Yeah.
Why would you why would you deny the world his talent?
Yeah.
Based on something like that. Like, that is obviously not the way he is now.
And it's not like it was just like it's freedom of speech. He can say whatever he wants. I mean, whether it's right or wrong or whatever. But it's like, I mean, he apologized for it, and he's like, was it funny? Probably not. I never read them, but he was probably not. Now, maybe at the time it might have been like kind of edgy, but it was like,
or maybe at the time it didn't even make an impact.
Yeah,
I mean,
obviously no one noticed it 10 years ago.
No, it didn't. So anyway, it's very good news because the Guardians movies are the highlight of the Marvel universe.
Yeah,
I love. They're my absolute favorite movies of the Marvel. universe.
Yeah, they were like quite a bit of a surprise. Yeah. The next one apparently is going to come out in 2022.
Yeah,
that's what they're thinking
because he's rebooting
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. So he committed to that. So he has to do that one first, which apparently is a complete reboot. Like they're starting fresh. Yeah, so that'll be interesting too. But at least it's good to know that he'll be behind the camera on that one.
DC's the master of the reboot.
They really are, and they kind of need to.
Yeah,
they should probably redo Batman v Superman. I think that one needs a reboot too. Speaking of Disney, which we just were, the Disney and Fox have now merged officially.
Yeah, this is a big accusation.
No, acquisition.
Acquisition. That's it. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
$71.3 billion.
That's crazy.
That gives them all the movies, TV, like a lot of the properties.
Yes. I mean, now you've got The Simpsons are under Disney's umbrella, and Deadpool, and X-Men, and like you gotta wonder how much money they're gonna bring in if they could fork out 73. How much?
Billion
dollars. Like how much this is going to bring in. They're obviously going to recoup that money. Like they're going to make that money back.
Well, and they also have the streaming service coming. So this is like a ton of content.
Yeah.
And content they can spin off of characters that maybe like haven't really gone anywhere or whatever, but that gives them a lot of material for sure.
It's going to be unbelievable. I mean, give it 5 more years, and literally we will all be under the Disney umbrella.
I'll be owned by Disney.
My house will be.
Matt Loop has been bought by Disney for $1.
And they'll never make that money back.
That is not an investment.
No.
I depreciate as soon as I go off the lot. I'm done.
But so going back to my Disney fanatic personality.
Yes.
I'm really curious to know whether Disney now will take the
Sporky character and destroy him.
No.
Oh.
Not Star Wars related.
Oh.
No, if they're going to go back and take the original uncut versions of Star Wars that Lucas made in the 70s and early 80s and release them properly to home video.
Oh, they will. They could probably recoup half that money.
Probably mostly from me, because I'll buy every version that they release.
So just to get it straight, they have Fox owned the originals.
Yes,
I heard in perpetuity.
Yes,
which is like a ridiculous deal.
Yeah.
So that these are the original cuts as we would have seen them at the theater.
That's right. Yeah, and that's why they've never officially been released to home video, because Fox owned the right, Disney did not, and so there were issues. But now that Disney owns Fox, will they go back into the archives, pull them out, clean them up, and give us the versions
and add extra characters over top?
And, yep. Mickey Mouse will be.
So that's what they were originally on Fox when he redid all of them, right? Like
yes.
When Lucas had redone them with all the extra stuff like layered onto it and stuff.
Yeah, and those are the ones that he released. And Lucas has always claimed that he will never release the originals to home video. Well, now he doesn't have a say.
Who owns the Christmas special? And I'm not even joking.
I do.
Yeah, well, I mean, not bootleg. I'm talking like I own the bootleg as well. It's also actually, I think you can on YouTube the entire thing.
I'm pretty sure you can.
But who owns that? Like,
I have absolutely no idea. I honestly, I would assume Fox would.
I guess any property of but then it was on a network, so
yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I don't even honestly remember whether it was NBC or
I don't know why I'm interested in it because it's awful, but it's like but I would buy it if it came out.
If a clean version of that came out on Blu-ray with commentary from Mark Hamill, who would just be like holding his face in his hand the entire time and just going, why? I would buy that.
I remember in that movie, wasn't he had just been in an accident or something, or he looked a little weird in it.
He also looked a little high.
Yeah. I think everybody did. That's probably how they got through the movie.
Pretty sure. Just saying. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, those things may happen. It's too early to tell. I do know, though, that a whole whack of Fox employees have been given the boot.
Oh, so for sure. That's what happens when any company takes over a company, right? That's
so
the first.
That's not good.
That's the first thing you do.
But if I get my Star Wars Blu-rays, I'll be happy enough.
You may have to go back in time for those.
Oh, I certainly hope so.
Because we're gonna have to go to the POP-capacitor. Let's walk over here.
We'll just go.
Because the studio's outside.
Exactly. Run away! I can never keep. Oh, there we go. Running.
It's a very short run.
All right, it's still a run. So, Luke, what do we got this week?
Well, this week we haven't done any cartoons yet on the show. So we're looking at a cartoon. I used to play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
A lot.
And when I was in my youth, and a little bit when I was in my adulthood.
Yep.
And so there was a cartoon on in the 80s called Dungeons and Dragons based on the popular board game. And it's about a group of kids who go into an amusement park.
Yep.
And they go into a ride similar to
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, called Dungeons and Dragons, similar to It's a Small World, I think, kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then somehow they get sucked in to the
realm
of
Dungeons and Dragons.
Here, take a look. Listen to this.
Hey, look! A Dungeons and Dragons ride!
Whoa! What's happening?
Whoa! Where are we?
Fear not, ranger, barbarian, magician, thief, cavalier, and acrobat. I am Dungeon Master, your guide in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons.
I shortened that up quite a bit.
You sure did.
Because it was I think the opener's a minute.
It is. It's really long. And there's just a lot of sound effects, really.
Yeah, and people running from dragons and things, like six-headed dragons.
Yeah.
And
but you get a pretty good idea of what's going on.
Well, yeah, so basically they're kids, they get turned into these different characters from Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
And the thing, even as a kid when I watched this show, the first thing I laughed at was the acrobat.
Yes.
Because the acrobat in Dungeons and Dragons is a really, like, they have the regular classes, and then they sort of had, like, some subclasses. Like, the Paladin would have been in the subclass. Or the Cavalier, I think he's a Cavalier,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
It's a sort of a subclass of the Paladin and the Fighter. But then
that was the most geeky thing I've heard you say in a
But then
while.
the acrobat was, like, really deep down. Like, you had to go into, like, a thing called Unearthed Arcana to find that particular class. And they'd have monk and things like that. But it was like, why does she need to be an acrobat? Why couldn't she be a fighter? Like, it just seemed weird.
Well, they need somebody to do some flips.
Yeah, well, it was just such a weird. It wasn't even really a class.
No.
Like, I don't know why. Like at the time, even when that came out,
No,
like,
and she didn't. I mean, did she? Do you think she actually added a lot to the group?
not really.
Other than being able to like jump over crevices every once in a while
Well,
to get
I
to the
know.
other side.
Yeah. And and everyone else seemed to fly over or do something weird. Like
you know,
it was like
didn't really make any difference.
I just didn't understand like why it's like we need 2 female characters, but what do? We have a thief, and then, of course they give the thief to the girl, which is weird.
Yeah.
And then they make her an acrobat, which it was like it's not even real, like because the other major class is the not the paladin, the cleric, which is like which is a religious sort of like magic user. But I can see why they wouldn't use
you
that
don't
in
wanna go
there.
there.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
No.
So.
But I mean, her staff was kind of cool because it would never break. So
Yeah, that's
if
right.
it broke apart, you just touch it and we come back together again. So that was
kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah. So
It's a
essentially,
magic staff plus 5.
So essentially, the whole series, it was 3 seasons long.
Yeah.
And the whole series was about them trying to get home. That was really what it was.
Basically,
what it was about. But
that was their quest.
That was their quest. The quest was
their campaign
to get home. Yes, it was an ongoing campaign that lasted 3 years
with the most obnoxious dungeon master in the history of mankind.
And you just wanted this dungeon master. Obviously, it came out in the time of Star Wars because Dungeon Master looked exactly like a little like Yoda.
Oh, for sure he did, yeah.
Yoda with a beard.
Like a wise sort of like, yeah.
Totally. If you could picture like a pink Yoda with a beard, that's what Dungeon Master looked like. So every episode was just, who can we meet up with who could take us home? Oh, I'll find you somebody who can take you home. You just have to save this village first.
Yeah.
And
that was a good invitation.
That was not bad, right? Every episode was essentially saving the life of somebody in order to potentially meet somebody who
without
could take them
being
home.
like killed by the dragon Tiamat or Venger, which was the villain.
Yeah.
Which I liked. I think Venger looked pretty cool. He looked kind of badass.
They were really cool villains. So so Venger was and he was in virtually every episode, I think, and he was the one that they were trying. Venger's whole goal, like their goal was to get home. Venger's goal was to steal their weapons because he thought that it would make him stronger.
Yeah.
So really, for 3 years, it was like, I want to go home. I want to steal your stuff. I want to go home. I want to steal your stuff. And that's pretty much what the series
The thing
was.
I love about kids' cartoons too is like it's 3 seasons, so you sort of think, oh, there must be like 60 episodes or something, but was there only like 27 or?
There were 27 in 3 years.
It's like one season only had like 10 episodes or 9 episodes.
The episodes, I think it was like 13 episodes for the first season and then 7 and then 6 or something. It was a crazy number. I don't know how they paced it out through the year.
Yeah.
But the other thing that was kind of interesting about this show is the voice acting that they got to be a part of it at the time. I mean, some people listening to this now may not recognize these names, but Willie Ames was one of them. He played Buddy Lembeck. From Charles in Charge.
He was he not on 8 is Enough as well?
I believe so, yep.
And Zapped?
And Zapped. He was in Zapped, that's right. And Adam Rich, who was the littlest kid on 8 is Enough.
That's right, yep.
Yep, he was on there. And Donnie Most, who was Ralph Mouth on Happy Days.
Yeah.
So they had some pretty big name for the 80s. They had some pretty big name talent.
Apparently they got him, Donnie Most, because the guy that worked on this on the cartoon also worked on the Happy Days cartoon.
Oh.
And he said that Donnie Most was the most animated of the voice actors. So he liked how much energy he put into the character. And so then that's why he asked him to come over to this. But it's weird because at that time, now it would be a big thing who was doing the voice acting.
Yeah.
Then it was like they just did it and you didn't even know who was doing it.
No, it was you just sort of expected people to voice and they voiced.
Yeah.
But they did a good job. The voice acting I thought was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But it was a really interesting show. Like I said, it sort of was the same theme throughout all 27 episodes.
Yeah, which was standard for a Saturday morning cartoon.
And most of the episodes were standalone. They were just like a story. But some of them actually had storylines that continued through. But the interesting thing is that the show just ended.
Yeah.
It just ended after episode 27. But they had actually written a final episode that would have been the big reveal and wrapped up a lot of unanswered questions and tied the whole thing together and put characters together and that sort of thing. And they never produced it. So they were literally one episode away from completely wrapping up this series. So what they did years later was made that episode, because they had a script, they had a finished script, made it into a radio broadcast.
Yeah, I never had a chance to watch it. It's on the box set, but it's
yeah, and it's on YouTube. If you get a chance, if you're interested in Dungeons and Dragons and 80s cartoons, you should look up the finale. It's really, really well done. To me, it was the most exciting of all of the episodes, and I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a link between Venger and the Dungeon Master that is a real big surprise.
I'm gonna have to check this out.
Yeah.
I have to say too, the box set for Dungeons and Dragons is one of the coolest box sets I've ever seen. Like, it's very detailed.
Yeah.
They've got like character cards for all the characters. They actually have a module if you that actually is compatible with Dungeons and Dragons.
Really?
Yeah. So you can play. Like, they have like an actual adventure, like a whole adventure in there. Like,
that's
you can play.
cool.
It's very, very cool. Like,
Wow.
it's very well done. The show, I've been making fun of it, but it's a Saturday morning cartoon show, so
Yes.
there's going to be some things that are goofy in it. But I actually thought at the time, and I still even watching it now, I thought it was still pretty interesting.
I thought it was really interesting. One of the interesting facts I kind of stumbled across as I was looking into this a little bit. In 1985, when this show was on, the National Coalition on Television Violence demanded that that they run essentially a disclaimer at the beginning of the show because of all the violence in the show. And that came from, there was one episode where the kids decided that instead of just trying to escape from Venger, that they would actually kill Venger.
Oh, yeah.
And what? That set up
Yeah.
some serious red flags. You can't kill people on TV on Saturday mornings. But they did. And so they had to add disclaimers to the beginning because the show is so violent.
Yeah.
And apparently caused violence in the real world. I don't know.
The other problem that they had with the show was and this was like a carryover from the books, was that people said they were like satanic.
Yes.
Like the game was, and which it wasn't. It's like anything, right? Like it's like, but that was part of what a thing, that stumbling block they had when they were making this particular show. But I was surprised. I watched a documentary on the making of it, and I listened to the commentary for the first. When's the last time you listened to commentary on the first episode? And it was interesting, like how much work they put into these Saturday morning cartoons. I assume they just make them and they come out, but it's like a lot of writers put a lot of time into them. They really flushed out the characters so they made sense. Apparently there was like 30 characters or like some ridiculous amount of characters in the first, like 30 might be an overstatement, but maybe 15 or something in the first episode. And the guy that ended up taking the original script, basically got rid of half of them because he said no one's going to remember half these people. Yeah. And he wanted a different reason. Like he said, you should be able to read the script and figure out who's saying what without even looking at who's saying what. Right. Based on the character and who's saying
what they would say and how they would say
but
it.
The Cavalier, though, did look and sound a lot like one of the characters from Voltron.
Oh, is that right?
You know, like certain characters in the 80s cartoons, kind of like Shaggy kind of looked like the guy that drove Speed Buggy.
Yes,
who tried,
with
that?
the same voice, yes.
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing. There was always a Lance in those type of shows, in like G-Force and all that. There's always that sort of character. And the same look and everything, that kind of like pompous, sort of character.
Yeah, really obnoxious. And it really did. It was very of its time. Like it's such an 80s cartoon. Yeah. And the music is great too. Yeah. In 2009, IGN actually ranked this cartoon number 64 on the top 100 cartoons of all time.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It was quality.
The thing as a D&D fan, as a kid when I was like 40, as a D&D fan, that's why I liked the show, because it was fairly accurate to the game. Yeah. The characters, what they were doing in a sense. And the dragon looked like a real dragon. It didn't look like a cartoon, goofy dragon, like a Pete's dragon or something.
By the way, it was a 5-headed dragon.
Yeah, that's a Hydra.
That spoke.
Yes.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Well, yeah, no, it was very cool. And I think Tiamat's actually a dragon in the game, actually.
Oh, is that right?
It's very difficult to defeat, by the way. I've lost many a character fighting it.
Tiamat?
Yeah. But anyways, it was very cool. I'd say it still stands up. I thought it was enjoyable. It's a Saturday morning cartoon. You had to put that aside, that you're not 8 anymore watching it, right?
Exactly.
You don't notice those the small details you would not notice. But the stories I thought were pretty solid.
They were solid. The thing I did notice now is that one of the characters who's referred to as the Barbarian, his name is Bobby, and he's an he's 8. He's an 8-year-old boy, and this kid is so jacked in the show. He literally looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he's an 8-year-old boy. Like, how did that happen?
The kid that did that voice is one of the producer's sons.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and he tried out for the show, and that producer had nothing to do with like the picking of him,
right?
Because he knew he was trying out, and he ended up getting it, and so he had no voice acting experience whatsoever.
Well,
but they wanted a kid that sounded like a kid,
yeah,
rather than getting an adult trying to sound like a kid, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, that's the one thing that stood out to me. I was like, this is really funny what they can do with the cartoons nowadays. But
with the tunes.
If you're at all interested in watching it, the entire series is on YouTube. All 27 episodes plus the unproduced final episode. So if you'd like to check it out, just go to YouTube, type in Dungeons and Dragons 70s or 80s TV show, and the whole thing is right there in great quality.
And if you can find it, the box set is like absolutely amazing. Like I honestly, I was like, this is a really cool box set. Like I was very, very
you
impressed.
You just stared at the box set a lot.
What's that?
You're just staring at the box set.
I did. I was like, this is pretty cool. I like good packaging. And they took a lot. They just took a lot of time and effort to make the packaging really, really cool. So but anyways,
it's a good one.
It is a classic. Yeah. I think that's the end of the show.
I think that's it.
I think that's all we have.
We've POP-capacitor. We've news.
It's a jam-packed show this week. All right, I got to go rest.
You go rest.
That's it for the show. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Loop.
I'm Larry.
And we'll see you next time.
Produced by Matthew C. Loop and Lawrence Simner. A Loop and Larry production.
Bueller.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Bueller.
Bad news. Fog is getting thicker.
And Leon's getting larger.
Inconceivable.
Brian's right. It's an elf.
Wax on.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Wax off.